Okay, hi everybody, and we are back today to share a second part of our Managing Summer Nerves and Transition Time anxiety series. And my friend Rochelle came here today to talk to us a little bit more about her experience as she came through a really difficult time around lots of moving and transitioning, as well as postpartum depression. And that's how she helps women today in her community talk about self-care and learning to take good care of themselves so they don't get burnout. And today we are going to talk a little bit more about how this relates to summer nerves and anxiety and transition times, and then really what she does, because there's some pretty cool techniques that she uses to manage herself and her family as she presses through different transition times. And so I really want her to dig into that today with us so that we can learn from her. So I'll turn it over to you. Rochelle.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelby. Thanks for having me. Basically what like you said, I've moved around a lot. Like I've moved like 20 something times, I think, in my lifetime.
Wow.
But really that anxiety and transition, I think the worst of it, as I got older, it just got worse because I think you're more aware of the situation. And once I had kids and I'm moving like with a family, it's like a whole different scenario than when I'm younger and I'm moving like with my parents. And I talk about moving specifically when I think about transitions in summer, because I feel like a lot of people move during the summer,
right?
Because you don't want to take your kids out of school, so you do it over the summer, and we actually moved to the States about 3 years ago from South America. So moving here and having the kids in a new school with new language. I mean, they went to an American school, so it was a little easier, but but everything was new friends, new school, new house, new life, my husband's new job. And, I, as a mom, you kind of have the task of, okay, I got to figure out where I'm going to get groceries and, what I need to clean the house and what pediatrician I'm going to go to and what forms the kids need for school and what are the kids' uniforms and just everything day to day. And then also add on to that, worrying about, are the kids going to make friends? Are they going to enjoy their experience at school? And, all these different things, coordinating, your time to carpool and just different things. So when we moved here, I kind of went through this complete mom burnout because I was just go all the time. And we actually have family here. So we would travel back and forth to visit family in different, which is each of them live about 45 minutes away in different directions. So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of just day-to-day things. And if you don't kind of organize yourself or find time to take care of yourself also, it's just, you just burn out completely. So that's what happened to me. And I went down into kind of like back into my rabbit hole of the depressive kind of state, because I with the anxiety, what happens is I'll start to get anxious and then I shut off the feelings so that I can kind of power through everything. And that's not a good idea because you just kind of swallow everything and eventually it's going to come back and it'll come up and you'll either detach completely or completely burn out, or just you'll be a mess because you won't be able to function properly. So that was my big realization when that happened, was I need to take time to take care of myself. So be it 5 minutes or an hour or whatever I can do, self-care is so important. So that's kind of what I now is my thing, is taking care of yourself and knowing that, taking care of yourself is not selfish. We take care of everybody. So when we have these transitions in life, be it moving or changing schools or even just going from summer to school or a vacation to anything, we're the ones that kind of have to hold everything together and be like, okay, everyone, worried about everyone else's feelings and how everyone else is doing, but we forget kind of about ourselves. So I kind of preach a lot about remembering that you are important and what you feel also matters. So it's also very important to keep tabs on that. So as far as, say, what I do when it comes to transitions now, and we were laughing about this the other day, I don't really plan a lot. But it's not that I don't plan. What it is I try to focus on what I can do in the moment. So sometimes I'll get really overwhelmed if I start to think too far ahead and be like, okay, well, I have to do this and I have to go there and I have to run that errand and I have to clean this and I have to fold that laundry or I have to do something else. And, I might have like 10 things I want to do in a day. And then like, because of course this is what happens, then I'll get a phone call from school and one of the kids is sick and I have to pick them up from school. And all of a sudden those 10 things that I had to do turned into 2 things that I got done. And then that's the end of it. And I would get super overwhelmed and anxious by this because I'm like, oh, I'm not getting my stuff done. But really all that stuff is still there. So the technique that I tend to use is I try not to, I don't say I try not to plan, but I do have like a list, and I'll try to make lists. And if I think of something, I have it in my phone. So iPhone has like a reminder app. And I just put it in my phone and I put the different reminders. I mean, it can be anything from remember to send an email to the teacher about whatever, or it can be I have to buy milk tomorrow, or anything. So as I put the list, I kind of put it kind of out of my mind, and I don't have to think about it because right then and there, let's say it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm not going out to get milk.
Right.
So I try to take things in pieces. And if I take things in pieces, the anxiety kind of subsides a little bit, and it kind of helps me organize and quiet my mind a little bit.
Right.
That's my biggest, I think, technique.
Yeah, I love that. So you have your overall plan, the big picture of things that you sort of know, but you chunk it down into smaller pieces by utilizing the app on your iPhone, the reminders app. I'm sure there's even other organizational apps. I'm not familiar with them, but there probably are a million different ones. And so you utilize that to kind of break it down into smaller pieces that are way more manageable on a daily or even hourly part of your day in your life, right, so that you don't get too overwhelmed with the big, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do to get ready for school, or oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do to get ready for vacation. But like you just literally focus on, well, right now I can do these 3 things because I have 1 hour before I have to pick up this kid, and I can do these 3 things. The rest of it might not get done today.
Right. And knowing that, my biggest thing is knowing that it's okay if those other things don't get done. Like if I'm like, okay, I plan today to do these 5 things. Out of those 5, I got 3 done because either someone got sick, or it's storming outside and there's no way I can go to whatever it is I had to go to, or I'm just exhausted and I cannot handle anymore and I need a minute to myself to just be quiet and sit and read or drink coffee or hang out. Knowing that it's okay, that if you got out of 5 things, you got 3 of them or 2 of them or 1 of them done, and saying it's okay, it'll be there when I get back. Nothing's going to happen. So, there are some time sensitive things, and those are the things that I tend to prioritize. But otherwise it's that being okay with yourself and going, I'm not a bad mom or a bad person because I didn't get these 5 things done today or these 10 things done today. It's okay that I only got this little bit done, and that's perfectly fine. So being okay with that took me a little while to kind of start to get used to that idea. But I think the more you kind of repeat it to yourself, the more you start to feel it and go, you know what, it's okay. It was more important for me to sit and take a minute than it was to, again, go get milk or orange juice or whatever I needed to get done.
Absolutely. I love this too. This is such another wonderful technique and tool that we all need to take into consideration as we're planning and preparing for different transitions and the anxiety that can come around it. Because when we are if we're too married to a plan, or we're too married to, like I think we've talked before about being a little bit too obsessive about things and kind of wanting to control all the things, then it builds up more overwhelm, and that just spins us out of control with anxiety. And so I know that feeling. I've been there many times too. And so what you're saying, I love, is to be okay with what you do get done. And if there is a mistake that's made, like maybe you forgot something at the store, you make a mistake, being able to recognize it and say, geez, I got all this other stuff done and I forgot that one thing, or I messed up that one thing. Okay, I'll fix it. It's not a big deal, but not beating yourself up about it, which then breeds more anxiety and then makes you feel worse about yourself. I love this tool. It's like an acceptance of yourself and almost your limitations too, to know that like, I'm a human being. I only have so much time and energy. And the energy piece that I love when you said take a minute, I mean, I think that's super important. And I don't think we really respect and honor that enough as women. I mean, I'm generalizing, but just as women, because it is really true. I mean, I think we talked before about like the carpool line, even like utilizing those little minutes. Like my daughter rides horses, and like when we go to the barn, I have to still be there with her just because there's no one else there. there's like a bench there. I talked about this in one of my blogs about my daily rituals. There's like a bench where I watch her, and I literally lay there and like take a nap while she's riding a lot of times, because for me, like that little 15-20 minutes of just like close my eyes, feel the sun on my skin, just be there. Sometimes I might listen to a podcast or just enjoy quiet. It's so special to me, and it really does help rejuvenate. So I love what you're saying about that too.
Yeah, having those moments. And I think that was a big thing. And like I said, when we moved, I didn't have those moments. And so once I started to get those moments and take out that time and be like, you know what, it just is important. So if you're a person who schedules and likes to have schedules, I tell people, put that in your schedule. Like put that in your calendar. It can be 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't, I love going to yoga, but sometimes I don't make it because it's an hour and a half class and I just don't have an hour and a half to dedicate to it. So if my self-care that day, like what we talked about is going to the carpool line and sitting and listening to a podcast or just enjoying the quiet or having a coffee with the other moms that are around and hanging out, I guess kind of hanging out. You know, that any of that is super nourishing for you and for everything. And that's, if we can, you know, my theory, well, I go along with the theory of like, you really can't fill anyone else's cup unless yours is being filled. So if you have these little moments, again, they don't have to be really long. They just have to, it's quality over quantity. You know, it can be 5 minutes of just, like you said, laying on a bench and enjoying the sunshine or sitting or quiet or anything. And if you can find those moments, that helps with that anxiety, with the transitions. And, you know, recently we went on a trip and I remember getting really anxious about packing. I get really anxious about packing.
Right.
Because again, I'm packing for X amount of people and I'm trying to organize and, you know, I get really stressed out. My husband laughs at me because we're going on vacation. I'm stressed about packing, but I
think that's a common issue. I mean, especially with us talking about summer nerves. I mean, this fits right into that anxiety about traveling.
Right. That anxiety when you're traveling and, you know, when you have little babies and wondering, you know, how many, you know, bottles, diapers, anything, you know, I have to take the blankets, the blankets that they sleep with or the stuffed animals and the different, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? You know, whatever. But anyway, all that, and I started to get anxious and I just took a second and I said, you know what, I'm going to stop. And I remember like in an instant I said, I'm going to go. I went out to get breakfast at this place by myself and just sat there for 20 minutes and said, I'm taking the 20 minutes because nothing's going to make a difference whether or not I take the 20 minutes now or I don't. So I'll go to sleep a little later tonight because I'll be organizing the packing, but I needed the 20 minutes right then and there. And I didn't need to be worried about, you know, how many socks we're taking right then and there. So taking those moments, and it just kind of re-energizes you. It like resets everything, at least for me.
I love that. You are so good. I mean, I guess that's why you're so good at this. This is why this is your whole shtick, right? Your whole community is based on like self-care and taking good care of yourself, and that's not selfish. And I love that because when you were starting to get anxious, your body was telling you, your brain was saying, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have, what if I don't have everything? But, you know, and I know like we're getting ready to go on vacation on Friday too. So I'm much better than I ever used to be because my kids are a little bit older too. So I sort of defer to them to do things, but I'm still like, well, we have a dog sitter coming, you know, I need to get money for her. Do I have to, you know, like just the silly things that, you know, is the recycling can ready, like all the list, you know, the things. And I, you know, so you felt your heart racing, probably you started to panic and then you're like, you know what? I'm taking a minute, just taking a minute. I love it. So that's the other thing I think that just to repeat what we said before is just recognizing that's happening. I think that's a big part of anxiety, that when we're working with our communities of women and we're talking with them and trying to teach them self-care, which is really what we're talking about here, is to really be able to recognize that that's what's happening. And I teach my clients this a lot too. Like, this is not you, Rochelle. This is not you being out of control or you are bad. It's your anxiety talking. It's just your anxiety coming in and saying like, hello, I'm here. I just want to mess up your day. And I'm going to cause all these physical symptoms and make you believe that you're not good enough, make you believe that you can't do it, make you
Right.
believe that you're not capable, and spin you out of control until you're having a panic attack.
Yeah.
And so when we insert ourselves with these good tools and be able to recognize and say out loud and to ourselves, that's just my anxiety. That's not me. It's just my anxiety. And what you did is you put it away. You're like, you know what? I'm closing the door on that and I'm stepping outside.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah, and
So
that's
tell
like,
me a
it
little.
takes away that power from the anxiety when you turn around and go,
Yes.
I'm aware this isn't me, and this is just my anxiety. So when you kind of recognize the anxiety, the same thing happened to me with the postpartum depression and with everything. It just, anytime I recognize it and I go, it's this, it's like all of a sudden the power just drops. And it's like,
Right.
okay, now it's manageable. You
Right.
know, now I'm in control. It's not controlling me.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of give it a name that's outside of yourself. I know that that's actually a clinical skill that I've used with my own clients. And my daughter's therapist actually used this with her to try to help her separate it out from, so they like gave it a name. They like gave the anxiety brain an actual name. Maybe it's like Bob or Tim or something, you know, and like they were like, you know what, it's just Bob. Bob's just rearing his ugly head. He's trying to come in here and wreak havoc on you. That's not you. It's just Bob. So like sometimes separating it out from yourself is a really great way to sort of manage that anxiety in the moment too. So you've talked so many great things about your self-care plan, how you have managed a lot of transitions in your life. That's a lot of moving. We've moved like one time, I think, in our whole life. And that was enough. We were like, we're never doing this again.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really had to, and it's just been, our life is just kind of here. But and then as you transition into your school year, I know both of your kids are school age, and with your own work and your partner and all of those things, like as you transition into the fall, is there anything in particular that you feel like you struggle with or have a great tip or tool for as we transition into the fall?
Let's see. So I struggle at this point. I start to struggle with, let's say, like all the documents that kids really need for school. I try to focus on that. And again, same thing. I do one a day because I don't know why their school asks for a lot of different paperwork things, you know, and just getting them ready for like the new grade. And the kids kind of get nervous because they don't know what to expect. It's new teachers. All that, getting their uniforms, all their friends are coming back. So it's organizing play dates and things before school starts.
Right.
But, you know, I just kind of, again, the same thing. I take it in small bites. So whatever is going on, whatever's on my list of things to get done, I just take it in pieces. And I just try and do that. Or I also use this time to kind of reflect on the year before and go, okay, what did I do last year? What triggered anxiety in me last year? What do I think I need to shift this year? So like I've seen some things that I'm like, okay, last year I was doing this, this, and this, and maybe I can pull back in this area because, you know, it was causing a lot of stress and it's unnecessary. So, you know, different things like that. This is kind of that time when I start to do that. I start to kind of reflect and look back. I do it now at the end of summer. I do it at the beginning of summer.
Yeah, I love that.
And I just kind of look back and go, okay, so this year, you know, again, I'm thinking I'm going to do these things, you know, everything kind of falls into place. And I just remind myself, everything's going to be fine. You know, everything's going to happen how it's going to happen. I can have this huge, you know, drawn out year-long plan. And you know what? I have to be okay that if that plan doesn't work, we're going to veer however we have to and it'll be okay. So all that I just want to do.
I agree. And you just made me think of, I remember, I'm just going to say this real quick and then we're going to kind of wrap it up. But that we transition seasonally here too, like as far as sports and activities and stuff too. So like in the fall, you know, they have their swimming and maybe soccer and whatever else. And then the winter we do whatever else. And so in the past, and I've gotten a lot better at this too, as I've worked on this particular area of my life, I've really struggled with a lot of anxiety around those, transitions into the new schedule. I mean, it's seasonal, but it's like more like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a new practice schedule and a new, like, who's going to do this? And so I would get myself really wound up into a panic. Like, I'm going to need help because two kids need to be there at the same time. And I would start to spin. And I really worked on that. And like you said, I think it's because I've just done that reflective work. And I love that because you can go back and be like, wait a second, I remember this from last year. This didn't work. this
Right.
this did not go well. This really did. And I remember that I can call, I can hire somebody, or I can get my mom to do such and
Right.
such, or we carpool with whoever. And so remembering kind of what did work, I think is really helpful. And then also like being flexible. I think that's just the name of the game in life. Like flexibility is going to be an anxiety reducer 100% of the time. So like when you're not married to, you have to be at soccer tonight and this one has to, I mean, if you're flexible, because you know what, like you said before, the kid might get sick, or the weather's going to change something, or your husband has to stay at work late, or your mom needs your help, or, there's just so many things, and like you get in a car accident. I mean, like there's just so many things that can go on. And so we have to be willing to be able to just shift, because if we can, and we're also modeling that, if you do have children, if you are a parent, you're modeling that for your children too, to be able to shift into things. So I don't want to go too off track on that, but you just made me think of like how I used to struggle so much with and now I do, but I feel like I can have a better handle on it because I have a lot more experience now, but I also worked really hard on it and just learned how to do the things that you've already talked about, and just planning and kind of just saying, okay, I'm going to take this, one day at a time and one chunk at a time. And sometimes we only work one calendar week at a time too. We have a general idea of the plan, but then we look at it, but then I don't really go too far out, because it's just a little bit too overwhelming for me.
That's how I get to it. That's what, when I say I don't plan, if I go too far out, I'm like, no, I need to rein it back in, because if I go too far out, I'm like, I'm not sleeping. I'm concerned about what I'm doing in a month. I don't know what I'm doing in a month from now. I have no idea.
I know. Yeah.
So,
So I think the biggest takeaways from today, I do think are so important, like things about self-care. And I know I mentioned, I didn't say it this time, but the self-care is not about manicures and pedicures and massages all the time. And I think that gets like sometimes self-care gets that rap, like it has to be this, like the hour and a half long yoga class. Of course, all of those things are wonderful. And I think we do need to have those things spattered throughout our schedule. Maybe like a couple of times a month, you're making sure you're getting to yoga, and you're making sure you're, grabbing a pedicure with your friend, or coffee with a friend, or, some of those things. But then the little daily rituals that I think are really important to just make sure that you are checking in with yourself, like I just think 5 to 10 minutes, usually it's in the morning for me. I think that morning meditation and quiet time is very special with my coffee, and I do like a little reading in the morning and stuff too, just to wake up slowly and have that quiet time. I think you said you do that too, where you like to have the peace in the morning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Normally I do it. I was trying to wake up earlier.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening. So what I do is I take the kids to school, and I tend to have that time normally right after drop off of school. But yeah, I do the same thing, where it's that quiet coffee of just sitting, drinking my coffee, and figuring out, planning out what I'm going to do for the rest of the day, or, whatever it is.
I think that's so great. And so I think we've really been able to talk through a lot of transition anxiety stuff today too. And I think that's going to be super helpful for a lot of other people who might be struggling as we transition really into the back half of the summer now. I mean, some people start school in this country like mid-August. We don't start till after Labor Day here, but some people transition much sooner. So, and the days are getting a little bit shorter now. So we're going to come into some stuff. So it's good to be prepared and thinking ahead a little bit about how you want to handle that for you and for your family members, so that your anxiety levels will stay low. So I'm so thankful that you were here. Thank you for bearing with us through the technical challenges. It's always a challenge sometimes when we are using exciting technology, but we persevered and we made it through. So I'm really glad to hear that. And I'm thankful that we did.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Take care.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.